All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 47 of the Mike the New Haven podcast. Shane Spencer number, the home run dispenser. This is a little different. This is a little cool because for the first time I'm doing the Mike the New Haven podcast somewhere else. I'm not doing it in my usual setup, which is at my house. I am at my sister's house and my brother-in-law's house. And the man to my left is, well, my brother-in-law, Victor Minyettys. Say hello to the people,
Yes,
Victor.
sir. How's it going? How's it going, folks?
Yeah, well, it's going well, and the reason that him and I are together today, you see me rocking my Ray Ordonez Mets jersey. You see him rocking his Atlanta Braves jersey.
I don't know how you got past security with that jersey on, bro. I really don't know how you got past.
As you can see, my brother-in-law is a major Atlanta Braves fan. Despite the fact he grew up in the Bronx, he is not a Yankee fan or a Met fan, Atlanta Braves fan. He'll explain why in a second. And, well, yeah, I'm not a Mets fan. I don't hate him, but this is a nice jersey, like I said, rocking the Ordonez. We're doing this podcast today because we are going to break down the 2021 Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, who we think should get in and who we think should not. So we'll go case by case, see who obviously has no shot, see who might have a shot, and see who should get in. The voting process, the steroid guys, you'll hear all about it. Before we start on the official ballot, give your brief background. Let the people know where you're from.
Let's do it.
You know.
So, like you said, Victor Minyettys. This is here's myself. Born and raised in New York City, Washington Heights area. I moved to the Bronx afterwards.
Okay.
So I was in Washington Heights for about 14, 15 years. Then we moved over to the Bronx. I was there for about 12 years. And then 2019, we got married, to your sister, beautiful wife. And I'm in Connecticut now. So, what do you call someone that's from Connecticut? Connecticut?
It's the thing, you don't. There's a
like
Bostonian, there's a New Yorker, there's a
yeah.
Californian. There's nothing for us because that's how non-special we are.
That's pretty sad.
It is. I mean, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Connecticuter, like a nutmegger, because we are the nutmeg state. Maybe that, but that's corny.
Yeah.
But you, like I mentioned, it's interesting because being originally from Washington Heights and then of course living in the Bronx, you don't root for the Mets. You don't root for the Yankees. You definitely don't root for the Mets. Why did you become an Atlanta Braves fan?
So when I was growing up, they gifted me a Chipper Jones jersey for it was just a gift. So then after I got that jersey, I started watching. I know the Braves went on TBS, so that's what I would look forward to every day. Like when I would get home from school, I had the option of watching the Yankees or the Mets. But since I had the jersey, I would just follow the Braves, and it was great because Ted Turner had TBS and TNT as well, and I had access to the team, and it was growing up. It was a great team. It was a team that would always be winning, And I mean, your Yankees got the best of us in '96 and '99, unfortunately. But as long as we had the upper hand on the Mets, it was a good year. And that was pretty much almost every year, so it wasn't that bad growing up a Braves fan in New York. So.
And you saw them a lot when you would go to Shea Stadium. You used to go
definitely.
to Shea Stadium a lot as a kid to see those Met Braves games. So, I mean, your 1999, your 2000 must have been pretty eventful during the height of the Mets Braves rivalry.
It was pretty lit. That's when the rivalry was lit.
Yeah, and especially in '99 when they played each other, John Rocker versus New York and whatnot. But, so that's a little bit of a background on you. You guys already know who I am. So we'll get right into it. The Baseball Hall of Fame ballot for 2021. Some familiar faces, some new faces. Where do you want to start first?
I mean, we can start with the guys that, they had great careers, but they're not going to get in. Fame. We got the Michael Kadires, the LaTroy Hawkins, Nick Swisher. You guys had Nick Swisher, right?
2009 World Series champion Nick Swisher was on the 09 Yankees.
He got a championship. It's not too bad.
Shane Victorino, very good outfielder for the Phillies for a long time. Great member of the 2013 champion Red Sox. Won the World Series with the Phillies in 2008 too.
Yeah, he got 2 championships.
So, but he's probably not getting in. Barry Zito, very good career.
Yeah,
with Oakland.
Coming up with Oakland.
I remember him in San Francisco. He helped the Giants win the World Series in 2012. I think his signature start was Game 5 against the Cardinals. I think on the road. Cardinals were up in that NLCS, I should say, 3 games to 1 at home, mind you, with a chance to go to back-to-back World Series. Barry Zito pitches a gem on the road. The Giants go home and win Game 6 and 7 and go on to win the World Series that year. But he's not getting in.
Unfortunately. Dan Herron.
Dan Herron,
guy
solid career.
With the Oakland A's as well.
Yeah, solid career, long time. Your guy, is this Tim Hudson or is this? We're looking at Baseball Reference, folks.
Yeah.
Tim Hudson, Oakland, Atlanta Braves as well. Good career, but he's probably not going to get in. We're looking...
Burley?
Mark Burley. I guess we can start there. Mark Burley's interesting. Why don't you pull up Mark Burley's numbers if you have them?
Let's look at his numbers here real quick. Let's see.
Give his WAR, too, because they factor that into Hall of Fame.
So he has a 59.1 WAR, 214 wins, 160 losses, ERA of 3.81, 1,870 strikeouts, and a WHIP of 1.281. Those are the basic stats, I guess we can say. I don't know, man.
He never won a Cy Young. Did he ever finish top 5 in Cy Young voting?
Let's see. Yes, he did in 05.
That's the year the White Sox won the World Series.
Yeah, won it all that year.
He did throw a perfect game, of course, in 2009, but so did Philip Humber, so that doesn't necessarily mean that you can get to the Hall of Fame.
True.
Mark Burley's interesting. There is a
four-time Gold Glover, by the way.
Which fielding your position is important. Yeah. I can see the argument because I'm thinking he was a durable pitcher for a very long time. He won 10 games, more than 10 games, I should say, multiple times. He won more than 15 games. How many times did he win more than 15 games over the course of his career?
He got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So he won at least 15 games or more 6 times in his career, 214 victories. His career ERA, though, you said is 3.81.
Yeah, 3.81.
So it's about mid-tier. Postseason, did not pitch in the postseason a lot. 2005 helped the White Sox win the World Series.
Yeah.
At the end of his career was a valuable member of the Toronto Blue Jays when they briefly had a renaissance, 2015-16. He was on that 2015 squad and helped them get to the ALCS. I wouldn't even say that he's borderline. He's basically, for me, and I like Mark Burley. He was a good pitcher, a durable pitcher, too, for a long time.
He was.
But I think he's in the Hall of very good. He's not a Hall of Famer.
I agree with you on that one. I feel like if he would have had his ERA a little bit lower, maybe a few more wins, he would have got in. But he did have a terrible career. I mean, he went out with a ring.
Yeah, he went
5-time All-Star.
Right, 5-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glover winner. Did finish top 5 in the Cy Young. He's the kind of guy I'll always say he will be in his team's Hall of Fame, not the baseball Hall of Fame.
Yes.
The White Sox should. I don't know if they have. They're going to retire his number someday. They should. He's a White Sox legend. Yeah. Anybody from that 05 team is always going to have a special place in the Southsiders' heart, as they should, and he's right up there. Yeah. But not a Hall of Famer. Hall of very good. So where do you want to go next?
How about your boy right here, Bobby Abreu?
Bobby Abreu, former Yankee, 06 to 08. Finished his career with the Mets, actually, too, and was not bad at the end of his career. 2014, the year before they made the World Series. But the majority of his years, his prime years, his peak years, were spent in Philadelphia with the Phillies. Yes. You do have his numbers in front of you.
He used to kill us, by the way.
He was a Braves killer?
I feel like he was.
Well, they had quite a few of those guys in line. Tome as well.
Yeah. He would kill us.
So Bobby Abreu's numbers, you have them right in front of you. Why don't you read them all?
Yes, sir. He had a 60.2 WAR, 2,470 hits, not bad. 288 home runs, batting average of .291, 1,363 RBIs, 400 stolen bases.
Which is impressive. I never knew he had that much speed, but he did.
.395 OBP, a slugging of .475, OPS of .870, OPS plus of 128.
So he's been getting a lot of love because the analytics community has been showing a different kind of version of these players, and we'll talk about another one of these players later on in the show as well. But and Bobby Abreu, I never realized, I guess, how good he was analytics-wise until you saw some of his advanced numbers.
I'm not going to lie, looking at his, when I saw the name Bobby Abreu, I thought the same thing.
Hall of very good.
Yeah, Hall of very good. Decent player. He was a great player, but when I started looking at his numbers, I mean...
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty
291 batting average is nothing to sneeze at. 2,470 hits is nothing to sneeze at. He's almost got 2,500 hits for his career. I don't care about the power. 288 home runs is perfectly fine. Jeter had about 250, and Jeter was never known as a home run hitter. So there's that.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's been getting some love on his first ballot. I know the Phillies tweeted out that he should get some. Their official account on Twitter that he should get some love for the Hall of Fame. I can see it. I can see
him getting in there.
I can see him getting in. Maybe not first ballot. But in this era of analytics, he just might be first ballot, but I can see him being a Hall of Famer. Did he ever have a top 5 MVP finish?
Top 5, let's see. No top 5s.
No top 5s.
Closest was He ranked 12. I guess.
He was back-to-back All-Star Game MVP.
Yes, he was.
Which is impressive. I don't know if it's something that you would count in his Hall of Fame accolades, but I mean, it's worth knowing.
Had a gold glove.
Right.
So
he gets overshadowed because these Phillies teams of the really post 1993 until about 2007 were not Phillies teams to be revered. No. They were not very good teams.
We took care of them.
They were routinely at the bottom of the standings. All they really had was Curt Schilling, and Curt left for Arizona. We'll talk about Curt later. And Bobby and Scott Rowland too, who we'll also talk about later as well. So Bobby, he really was carrying that team for quite a while. I do remember him with the Yankees. He was pretty solid for the Yankees. Yeah. Not the best fielder, but he was older by this point.
Yeah, he was falling off kind of.
And remained consistent. I mean, I remember him on the 2009 Los Angeles Angels because the Yankees beat the Angels that year in 6 games in the ALCS, and he was a consistent right fielder for them offensively. Pull up his 2009 numbers really quick.
09?
Yes, if you don't mind. Just humor me with that.
Right over here. Let's see.
That year...
165 hits that year. 29 doubles. 3 triples, 15 home runs, 103 RBIs. That's 09, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's 35 years old doing it.
30 stolen bases.
Yes. In his Yankee years as well.
Not bad. It wasn't a bad year. Yankees in 08?
07, you see 16 homers, 101 RBIs. He hit 283, hit 296 in 2008. So, I mean, this is a guy he's one of those guys that quietly put together very consistent numbers. He was never a steroid guy. Not that matters to me, and we'll talk about that later, too. He was never known, at least, as a steroid guy. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I see it, bro. Like I said before, I didn't think his numbers were this good.
Mm-hmm. Me either.
He low-key had a great career.
Yeah, a career to be proud of, for sure. Definitely a career to be proud of. So Bobby Abreu is a Hall of Famer to this point. Mark Burley, in our eyes, is not. Next guy, who do you want to talk about?
Let's see who we got. Who else we got? How about your boy Sammy?
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa.
This is a controversial one because I guess we can talk about the steroid guys now. That's what Sosa used to do on the field, specifically after he would hit home runs.
Yep.
You know, well, I guess...
How do you feel about Sammy?
Because you can't talk about Sammy without talking about the steroid era in baseball in general. I'm going to
Don't forget the cork.
The corked bat as well, but that's a one-time offense. Yeah. For me... Well, tell me how you feel about the steroid guys, because we pretty much agree on this. I'll give my take.
What was the peak of steroids? 97, 98, 99?
Really, the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. So...
Right up until Balco broke.
That's when I was, about what? 7, 8, 9 years old.
That's your wheelhouse as a fan. You're young, you're
impressionable. That was a great time in baseball.
It was.
That was a great time.
I mean...
Listen, the owners loved it.
Right.
The commissioner obviously loved it.
Yeah, he was in on it.
The fans... We loved it.
Yeah.
And I think the players enjoyed it.
I mean, listen.
And it brought baseball to it brought it back.
Baseball had taken such a huge hit.
It was unbelievable.
Baseball had taken such a huge hit following the 1994 strike. I mean, there was just not a lot of enthusiasm for the game after what they felt was a strike brought on by greed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who was right. The point is, that put a real big shiner on Major League Baseball. In 1998, that home run chase between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire brought it back. Bro. And not only that, you had random guys hitting 50 home runs. Brady Anderson hit 50 home runs.
He was up there.
1 year. Greg Vaughn hit 50 home runs 1 year. Glenn Allen Hill was coming off the bench and hitting home runs out to the roof across the street from Wrigley Field. And there's the more notable figures like who we'll talk about later, like Bonds and Clemens. But for me, are we advocating doing steroids? No. Obviously, you should play the game the right way. You should be clean. And we know what it does to you because look no further than the tragic story of Lyle Alzado, the football player.
Yeah.
Who at the end was reduced to almost skin and bones because of steroid use. He died of a tumor brought on by that in 1992. And Ken Caminiti really broke the lid on steroid use when he did an interview with SI in 2002 after he had retired about how prevalent it was in the game. And obviously steroid use led to other types of drug use for him, and he died a couple years after that at the far too young age of 41. So are we saying that it's good to do it? No, of course not. If you can play the game straight up, play it straight up. But to act like to act sanctimonious as Bud Selig did, as some of these sports writers did, when they owe their careers to these guys who, as you said, brought the game back and made baseball the premier sport in America in the late 90s and early 2000s. I think it's so hypocritical. Sosa, for me, if you're going to put any of the steroid guys in, you have to put them in too. Do I feel that Sammy was, prior to steroids, a great hitter per se? He was not. Let's be honest.
No,
he was not.
I would say no.
He was your typical all or nothing hitter. He'd go up there and either strike out, which is basically he was ahead of his time, because that's today's game. Either go up there, you hit a 400-foot bomb, or you strike out, or you walk.
In the game. Yep.
Or you walk. And so that's pretty much what Sammy was. But 609 home runs, and really his peak offensive production, 1997 to 2003, pretty much 2002. He had a couple seasons in a row where the man hit 60 home runs plus.
Unbelievable, bro. That I'm telling you, those times where it was just out of this world. I remember they would actually give, watching the game on ESPN, Mark McGuire's playing, the Cardinals are playing, and then they would just jump into Sammy's at bat. Yeah, Sammy's at bat. Sammy hits one out. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Sammy's in the lead now." Then McGuire comes back. The next at bat hits it. It was insane,
great, bro. That home run chase.
Everyone was watching it.
That 1998 season between the Yankees being one of the greatest teams of all time, between the home run chase, it brought the sport back. It brought, as we just said, it brought the sport back. And one thing about that time is that, to encapsulate how popular Sammy was, that you being from New York City, you know how strong the Hispanic community is, particularly the Dominican and Puerto Rican community, but especially the Dominican community out in Washington Heights and out in the Bronx. The Mets started playing the Cubs at Shea in 1999. This is, mind you, when the Mets are really good, great teams with Olerud, Alfonso, Piazza, Leiter, Ordonez, and the rest. And the Cubs are coming in. The Cubs were a last-place team in 99. And Sammy shows up for merengue night at Shea, and he hits a 3-run home run to the opposite field. The Mets end up winning this game, I think, 6-3. And when he hit that home run, the stadium was shaking.
It's crazy.
And you're seeing Dominican flags flying about in the stands. You would have thought the game was either at Wrigley or back in the DR. That's how popular he was. He was such a transcendent star at the time. But at the same time, had it not been, and I don't want to contradict myself, had it not been for the boost that he received, would he have ended up hitting 350, 400 home runs in his career with the power that he had naturally? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But so did Dave Kingman. Dave Kingman was a natural power hitter, and is Dave Kingman in the Hall of Fame? No, he's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Certain guys I can look at and say, okay, they had the talent. They chose to do the wrong thing, but they had the talent, put them in.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sammy had that level of talent. So I go back and forth. I
understand. I mean,
is he a Hall of Famer to you?
I feel like, he's a Hall of Famer.
With 609 home runs?
I'll put him in. I'll put Sammy in. 609 bombs. I mean,
you can't
steroids or not, you still gotta have that.
That's true.
You still need to put
that hit the ball.
Bat on the ball. You have to.
And he did that.
And he did that. I mean, he did have a little bit more strength, more power, but I mean, it may have been the Plátanos. Who knows?
Yeah, but Plátano power. Plátano power. Mofongo power.
He did get MVP though in '98.
As he should have.
6-time Silver Slugger, 7-time All-Star.
Give his season by season, 98 through 01, because I want the audience that isn't familiar with his numbers to hear this, because this is insane.
98. He is 98. 198 hits, 20 doubles, 66 home runs. Wow, unbelievable. 158 RBIs. He led the league. He struck out 171 times. He led the league on that too. So.
But 171 compared to now is very low.
Yeah, that's true. What else he had that year? He hit 308 that year.
Okay, so his 99. Give me just his home runs, his batting average, and his RBIs.
Home runs, his hits 99, 63.
Hits, he had 180.
180.
RBIs, 141.
Yep.
And he hit
288.
2000.
2000, he hit 138 ribbies, 50 home runs. He had 193 hits, and he hit 320 that year.
And last is 2001. This is probably the most absurd stat line he had, besides 98.
He had 64 bombs that year. How many hits? 189. He hit 328. And he even walked 116 times. That's pretty good.
Which is incredible.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
And even towards, afterwards, 2002 and 2003, 40 home runs, 49 home runs, respectively, in each of those seasons.
He was out of this world.
He was a Titan. He was a Titan. And
insane. Bro.
What bothers me is he's not welcome at Wrigley until he, quote unquote, comes clean. And I'm thinking to myself, and I say this as a Yankee fan, the Cubs owner that said that, you traded for Aroldis Chapman. Now, we know about Aroldis Chapman's off-the-field issues.
Yeah.
So if you're going to trade willingly for Aroldis Chapman, you cannot take a moral stand on Sammy Sosa. Now, I'm not saying, again, I want to emphasize this. We are not saying using PEDs is exactly that. We're not condoning the use of illicit drugs of any kind, performance-enhancing drugs of any kind. Play the game straight up, don't cheat. Straight up. But, the moral stand, or the lack thereof, it falls on empty. It's like a tree falling in the forest. Nobody hears it. It falls on deaf ears.
I mean, they let it rock.
They let
the whole league.
And they made money.
And they loved it. And now they want to hold these guys accountable. Come on.
The Cubs were not that great a team either. 98, they made the playoffs. You remember, though, the Braves swept them out of there in the first NLDS. They didn't make the playoffs in 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. 2003, they only made the playoffs twice in that 5 year period.
They knocked us out, wasn't it?
03, they knocked you out in 5. They got their revenge, and then they had that infamous choke job against the Marlins. Who went
Steve Bartman was another one that they didn't want to let in.
Yeah, for years. They can now, though, because, when COVID's over, they can, but because they've won the World Series. But yeah,
I think he declined, by the way.
It makes sense. He's a lawyer too. He's actually a big shot in the suburbs of Chicago too. Nice. I learned that.
Nice.
For 30 for 30 on him. But no, Sosa. Say what you want about the guy off the field. Say what you want about PEDs. You can't omit him. Can you say he's overrated as a hitter because of his steroid use? I would argue so.
You can probably say so. But he compiled the numbers. You gotta get him in.
Yeah, you can't sneeze at 609 home runs. You just can't.
And if they want to have them separate, all the steroid guys.
If you want to put an asterisk on their plaque, whatever, fine. Take your moral stand. Even though it's hypocritical.
You gotta let them in. You have to let them in.
So Sosa's in so far to this point. Burley's not. Abreu is. Sosa is. And who do you want to talk about next?
Let's see who we got here.
Talk to my brother-in-law on the Mike and Newton podcast, episode 47.
Let's talk about my man, Andrew Jones.
Andrew Jones. Read his numbers.
Andrew Jones. I just want to start off with this. 10-time Gold Glove.
I'll give you the floor on this one.
10-time Gold Glove winner. 5-time All-Star. Silver Slugger. MLB Player of the Year. He got that once.
What year?
That was in, let's see. He was also top 5 Rookie of the Year as well, 97.
As he should have been.
It doesn't show me here when he got the MLB Player of the Year, but come on now. This dude was elite center fielder. His glove was impeccable, bro. And that's just his defense. Let's see the offensive numbers right here. See the offense. I actually wrote it down for you here. 1,933 hits. He could add some more hits.
He could have
add some more.
He was a very poor hitter after he left Atlanta.
He was his average is a bit low. It's 254. 254. But his glove just balances it out, bro. It just balances it out.
Yes, numbers.
It balanced it out. 1289 RBIs. Stolen bases 152, OBP 337, slugging 486. I mean,
he had 434?
434 bombs. I mean, I heard that he was linked with steroids. I don't know.
I never heard of that.
No?
His best year was 05. I think that was his second to last year. He was a monster in 2005.
128 RBIs, 51 bombs. Yep. That was his career high right there.
Yeah.
He led the league. He was second in MVP that year.
As he should. 2000, he had another great year, too. He hit over 300 that year in 2000.
Yes. 303.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was outstanding. I think that's the only time he ever did that in his career, in a full season, not in a small sample size. But
yeah.
And I remember him too. Of course, Yankee fans. Being a Yankee fan, he finished up his career in the Bronx, and he wasn't too bad. I mean, he was what you would expect, off the bench power hitter. He wasn't bad. I think he actually homered. He did homer in his first at bat as a Yankee.
Oh, he did.
He did. So yeah,
he was pretty blown up by then.
Yeah, he was. He was. But he was still hitting bombs. But he was hitting He was basically doing a Carlos Pena, hitting 15 bombs, but hitting 197 in the process.
He was doing the placatas.
Exactly. Those of you who watch MLB Network will be familiar with that phrase. But I go back and forth with him because the offensive numbers. Listen, they put Bill Mazeroski in the Hall of Fame. primarily for his defense. Ozzie Smith is in the Hall of Fame primarily for his defense.
Yeah.
The guys whose jersey I'm rocking. If Ray Ordonez was even a half decent hitter, with how well he played the field, he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame. With how legendary he was with the glove. The man won 3 Gold Gloves in a row. 254 batting average, less than 2,000 hits. Maybe there's a guy in the Hall of Fame that has less than 2,000 hits.
Is it?
Maybe. I wouldn't know. Obviously, excluding pitchers, National League pitchers. It's tough. It's tough because I hate to be the guy that lives and dies by the home run. I hate to be the guy that just factors that into consideration. 10-time Gold Glove, nothing to sneeze at. Obviously, as I said, 254 for his career. He never hit for average, but he did finish in the top 5 at least once in MVP voting. That 2000 season he had, did he finish in the top 5 or at least the top 10?
2000?
Yeah.
He was 8.
So he's finished top 10.
Yeah.
He's borderline for me. This is a tough one.
Like I said, his glove was elite, bro. I don't think we've seen.
Oh, he was great.
He was probably one of the best center fielders we've seen.
In his prime, yeah.
This dude would play literally right behind second base. He could be standing right behind second base. They hit a shot behind his back. He would just turn around, just look down, run up, look behind his, turn around, whoop, make the catch. That's it.
Made it look easy.
He made it look easy, bro.
And he was a fearsome presence on those late 90s, early 2000s Atlanta teams in the same lineup as a Ryan Klesko, in the same lineup as a Chipper Jones. Yep. He really, I remember the late, great Bob Murphy, the longtime Met commentator, talking about it. Robin Ventura. He was referring to Robin Ventura had just hit a home run against the San Francisco Giants in Game 4 of the division series in 2000 at Shea, and he was saying with Gary Cohen, who was doing radio games with at the time, that what's going to make pitchers throw strikes to Mike Piazza is the presence of a Robin Ventura in their lineup. Yep. Similarly, what made pitchers throw strikes to Chipper Jones was the presence of Andrew Jones for many years, no relation, of course, in that lineup, and so. Him, God.
He had a 990 fielding percentage.
What's his WAR?
Over 17 years.
Which is impressive. Which is very impressive. What's his WAR for his career?
He had a 62.7 WAR.
Which is about average for a Hall of Famer.
Yes. It's a little bit over what Bobby Abreu had.
You'd put him in?
I'm putting him in, bro.
You know what?
Just with his glove alone.
He'll be in. He's not a first ballot guy. He's not a first ballot.
No.
He'll get in eventually. I can see him being 4th, 5th, 6th ballot. I wouldn't put him in right away. He should get in, just not right now.
He should get in. His glove, again, is elite. 10 Gold Gloves.
Yeah. So to this point, Burley's not a Hall of Famer. We said Abreu's a Hall of Famer, though maybe Abreu's even first ballot. And who else did we consider? We considered, before we considered Jones, we talked at length about Sammy Sosa, who should probably. Sammy Sosa's obviously well past his first ballot. He should be he should probably be in as
this
well.
This is Bobby Abreu's second year, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he gets in eventually.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, actually, sorry, thanks for that correction. Yeah, Bobby, I forgot he was in the ballot last year. So next up is who do you want to go to?
I want to do Gary Sheffield.
Yes, and here's another guy.
He was linked.
He was linked because he was friends with Barry Bonds. Yeah. He rubbed the cream on his thigh, and that cream had stuff in it. He later tested positive for because he trained with Barry Bonds in 2002, 2003. If you ever read the book, for those of you listening out there, Game of Shadows, which chronicled the Balco scandal in the mid-2000s, it talked about that for a large portion of the book, Sheffield's links to Barry Bonds and to PEDs. It's a great book. I have it. I can give it to you.
Oh, yeah. Let me hold that down.
Yeah, no, you'd get through it in a heartbeat. It was a great book to read. Sheffield, to me, again, as you talk about with Sosa, you still have to hit the ball.
So I hit the ball.
So Sheffield in his prime, later on, it was a little different because he was older, obviously. In his prime, he was a two-way player. Could do it with the bat. Could do it with the glove. I remember, listen, his Marlins years in particular, which culminated in him winning the World Series with the ball club in 1997, and before they tore everything down. The first time. That's true. He at his peak, he was I think he was a top 10, maybe even top 5 hitter in the sport. Top 5 player in the sport because he could do it both. And we have the distinction. He played for both of our favorite. Yes. He played for the Braves for a little bit. He played with the Yankees too. Actually, finished in the top 5. I think he was even second in MVP voting in 2005 behind A-Rod.
Yes, 04, maybe
04.
Yeah, 04.
Well, 04, okay. And in
second,
05, he was
8th.
He was 8th because he had 2 in 06, which was his last go around with the Yankees. He battled injury, so he didn't play as much. But 04, 05, he was arguably at times the Yankees' best hitter.
And even with the Braves in 03, he was 3rd in MVP voting.
His Dodgers numbers were incredible too. That's where the Marlins traded him to when they broke everything down.
Yeah.
His Dodgers numbers. Why don't you read some of his Dodgers numbers?
His Dodgers, Dodgers in '98.
Mm-hmm.
He might have been injured that year, huh? Oh no, he got traded mid-season, right?
Yeah, the Marlins when they were tearing everything down.
His full season in '99 with the Dodgers, he had let's see here, 34 home runs, 101 RBIs. He hit 301. In 2000, he hit 325, 43 home runs, 109 RBIs. 2001, he hit 311, 100 ribbies, 36 home runs.
Give his Braves numbers and his Yankee numbers too, except for 06. Because 06 he was injured, so he didn't play a lot.
Braves in 02, 84 RBIs, 25 homers. He hit 307. In 2003, this was when he was just mashing. 39 home runs, 132 RBIs, 330 batting average. And I remember, I think I went to a game at Shea Stadium that year in 2003. This dude hit a mammoth shot, bro, at Shea Stadium. It was insane. And, like, everyone knew it, bro. As soon as it hit the bat, gone, bro. It was a no-doubter. He had some tremendous power, bro.
He did. His
bat speed was insane. Remember when he had his batting stance?
It's one of the favorite batting stances I think I've seen. His 96, before you read his Yankees numbers, his 96 with the Marlins, his 97, he kind of had a little bit of a drop-off. It wasn't a terrible year, 97, but his 96 numbers were, with the Florida Marlins, incredible.
Yeah, he had 42 homers, 120 RBIs, 163 hits. He had 314. Had a great year, bro.
MVP, I think he was, what, 6th?
6th in MVP.
Sixth in the MVP,
he was an
all-star
all-star
that year.
He had a Silver Slugger that year. Great season. He had a great season.
And a great glove, too. There's a great play of him robbing a home run, and I think in Game 3 of the 1997 World Series. The guy was, and his Yankee numbers, cap it off with his 04 and his 05 in pinstripes.
04. He had 36 bombs, 121 RBIs. He hit 290, 166 hits. And 05, 170 hits, 34 bombs, 123 RBIs, and he hit 291.
So this was a guy that really, I want to point to his Marlins years. I mean, even early on, I think he played in San Diego, didn't he, early on in his career? I think he might have won the batting title in San Diego, if I'm not mistaken, did he?
Let's see here.
Yeah,
he did. San Diego in 92.
So really, and even at the end of his career with the Mets in 2009, I know his stat line off the top of my head, 276 batting average, 10 home runs, 43 RBIs.
Yep.
So and he hit his 500th home run with the Mets. That's from research I used to do years ago.
Yeah.
Really, this was a guy that from 1992 right up until the end of his career was the epitome of consistency. I don't think steroids comes into play with that. I don't think, and I don't know the extent of what he did. I don't know if he injected himself with anything. I only know the cream story. I mean, it doesn't. At least it shouldn't. That shouldn't dictate what is a remarkable career, both on both sides of the ball, with his glove and with his bat.
Didn't he play a little third base as well?
He might have. I think he did. I think he did. But with his Marlins years, saw him shift to the outfield, where he would stay for the rest of his career. This again, great consistency for almost 2 decades. 17 years of solid production.
Yeah.
To not put that guy in the Hall of Fame, I don't understand it. I can't wrap my head around something like that. I mean, again, it goes back to the sanctimoniousness, and I know you have a rant that you're saving up on the Hall of Fame process.
Oh, I can't stand the process, bro. I really can't.
You want to do that rant now?
I really can't, bro. Yep. I've seen ballots where, first of all, how do you vote for a guy? Let's say you vote for Gary Sheffield this year. And then next year you take him off. How does that work? So you're saying this year he was a Hall of Famer, and then next year he just happened to, his numbers changed, and he's not a Hall of Famer anymore. Right? How does that happen? That's my first issue with it. And I've seen writers do that. I think what they should do is just make a point system. For example, let's say you compile 500 home runs throughout your career. Let's say that gives you 5 points. You hit 600, maybe 10 points. You get to 700, that will give you 15 points. For every, let's say, and I'm just saying just random numbers, but I'm pretty sure someone smarter than me can work that out. Let's say you get a gold glove award for a year. You know, make that 5 points.
A top 5 MVP finish,
exactly.
Winning the MVP.
Yeah, just winning the MVP, make that 15 points or something like that. And then make a number set in stone that whenever a player reaches that amount with all the accolades that they have, that makes them a Hall of Famer. They should just do that instead of just this voting thing. You know, this guy was nice to me when he went 0 for 5.
Exactly.
Let me give him a vote.
Here's the thing. Thank you for touching on that because I was dying to get to that. I hate that process to where you vote based on what you just said. Was this person nice to me? Yeah, listen, should you, again, same thing with PEDs. Should you do PEDs? No. Should you strive to be a good person in life? Yes, obviously. Treat others with respect. We were raised, treat others the way you would want to be treated. Obviously, don't be a jerk to people. Be nice. Yeah. But that being said, the Hall of Fame, it's not about were you a good person or not. It's about were you a good player. I'm about to say, Ty Cobb's in the Hall of Fame. And I've said this to you before, off the air. Ty Cobb, by all accounts, was a despicable human being. Ty Cobb was a racist. Ty Cobb is a well-known racist. He was an awful person. Yeah. But he was a heck of a ball player. And where is he? In the Hall of Fame. He should be there. He's an awful human being, or was. He's long dead. Yeah. But, you know, he was a tremendous ball player. It's not, I mean, that's the thing I don't understand.
The numbers, bro.
I mean, Harold Baines. Nothing against Harold Baines, who, by all accounts, was a nice man. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. He was a nice. It says it on his plaque. He was a wonderful person in the game. Meanwhile, Kenny Lofton, who I'm not saying Kenny Lofton was a bad guy or anything. Kenny Lofton's not in the Hall of Fame, folks. Think about that. John Olerud's not in the Hall of Fame, folks. Those guys, Kenny Lofton, who only hit 297 for his career, and is one of the greatest defensive players the game has ever seen. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Keith Hernandez, who's one of the greatest defensive players the game has ever seen, and a heck of a hitter to match, who hit 290 for his career. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Harold Baines, think about that, folks. Harold Baines has a plaque in Cooperstown. Kenny Lofton, John Olerud, Fred McGriff, Jim Edmonds does not. You know, that is just the epitome of ridiculousness. You know, to where I say this: if you can't objectively vote on if a player is a Hall of Famer or not, because previously you had a good relationship with the guy, or you had a not so good relationship with the guy, that automatically disqualifies you. Because you think about it, in the American court system, if a judge trying a case, or if a lawyer, let's say a prosecutor, let's use a prosecutor as an example. If a prosecutor is on a case and they find out they have some sort of prior connection to the person that they're prosecuting that may impair their judgment, that prosecutor is obligated to recuse himself or herself from that case. Same thing with the judge. If they have some sort of a bias either for that person or against that person, they have to recuse themselves because that person's not going to get a fair shot otherwise. Same thing here with the Hall of Fame system. If you're going to vote for a person because he was nice to you, as you said, after he went 0 for 5 and he was a good guy in the locker room.
He got rocked.
Or because, you know, or better yet,
runs, he was nice to me.
Or better yet, you don't vote for a guy because he didn't give you cliche quotes for a column the next day and a game recap in some random newspaper. You should automatically recuse yourself. You know, because that's just ridiculous to me.
That's ridiculous.
It is, and you know that's the thing I don't understand about the voting system. And to submit a blank ballot, one guy did that. He submitted a blank ballot because he wanted to take he was a first-time voter too, because he wanted to take a moral stand. You know what? That's why I'm like, and you have these writers that they're always looking for attention.
It's a joke, bro.
Nobody really knows who they are, so they intentionally vote for, like, I remember one ballot that a person had. They voted for Jose Valverde. Oh, God. And they were saying they wanted to vote over Valverde over Mariano Rivera, who was the greatest closer who ever lived.
I can't stand it.
Ken Griffey didn't get 100% of the vote. Think about that. Ken Griffey Jr.
That's another thing. You have guys not voting for a certain player because
they know he's going to get it.
They don't want him that, and they don't want him to be unanimous. Because remember, prior to Mariano, no one was unanimous.
Griffey was the closest. He was 99.3.
So you have guys looking at Ken. You have how many? I don't know how many people it was that voted for Ken Griffey. It
had to be a lot.
1 or 2, or 3. That's it.
Well, I think there was a couple guys, 2 guys, that didn't vote for him.
So you're telling me you're looking at Ken Griffey's name, and the question is Ken Griffey a Hall of Famer? Yes or no?
Yes.
It's a yes.
Without question, without even blinking.
The numbers of career, it's a yes. But these guys happen to say no.
For what?
How do you look at Ken Griffey and say no, he's not a Hall of Famer?
And better yet, I mean, for example,
how?
Bruce Sutter and Lee Smith, and you might disagree if you're listening to this. Bruce Sutter, and this is by the way, this is every conversation that we have off the air. This is pretty much how it goes. Bruce Sutter, good closer. He's in the Hall of Fame, right? Lee Smith, a compiler of a closer. He's in the Hall of Fame. Rob Nen is not. Billy Wagner, who we'll talk about later, is not. John Franco, who has 424 saves for his career, is top 5 all time. He's not in the Hall of Fame. We're not going to put John Franco in the Hall of Fame, whose career ERA is 2.89, and who has 424 saves. Bruce Sutter's in the Hall of Fame. Rob Nen, who for a period of time, the only reason his career was cut short because he had shoulder problems, and that forced him into retirement, who was only one of the game's more elite closers for like a good 5-6 year period. Helped the Marlins win a World Series in 1997. Helped the Giants get to a World Series in 2002. Pitched in that World Series and pitched well despite the fact his arm was falling off, basically. That guy who has over 300 saves for his career, not in the Hall of Fame.
It's a shame.
But Bruce Sutter and Lee Smith are. So you got to change the voting system. We can go on about this all day, but we have to get to the...
That's not even getting into Pete Rose.
Oh, God.
Let's not even get into
who should be on the ballot. These guys
hits is he at 4,000?
Over 4,000.
It's unbelievable.
And you know, some of these guys have to wait for the Veterans Committee. Kenny Lofton has to wait for the Veterans Committee.
Yeah.
John Olerud, who hit 295 for his career and had over 2,200 hits and is one of the most elite defensive players the game has seen. He'd have to wait for a Veterans Committee. I don't even know if he's eligible anymore. It's just so ridiculous.
It's a joke.
Anyway, we could spend all day on this, but we don't want to omit the other candidates. We have to talk about them.
You guys are listening. Just make it a point system, please. Just save us.
Please. Ken Rosendahl, if you're listening, you were on the show. You were a great guest. I like you, Ken. I like the way you vote in the Hall of Fame, too. Please advocate for that next BBWA, whatever it is.
Just make it a point system.
Yes, please.
Next guy. Who are we going to? How about Manny?
Manny Ramirez, yes.
Yes. Manny Ramirez.
Yes. Come on. And he tested positive twice. And he's not going to get in, unfortunately. Manny's not going to get in because he tested positive twice, and we have to take a stand.
Just put him in the separate room. Just put him in the basement of the Hall.
Because that's Palmeiro's problem too. Palmeiro,
just put him in the basement.
Exactly.
Just all the steroid guys. Put him in the basement.
But who can't? Again, just you know what? Take him by the plaque. If you want to talk about morals, if you bring your kids to Cooperstown, take him by the plaque, and just say, "Hey, he was a great player. He did the wrong thing. Don't do what he did.
Don't do it.
But he was a great player."
He was a great player.
That if I had a kid, which I never would, by the way, you know, that's what I would do. Hey, son or daughter, if they're into sports, great player, but he didn't play the game the right way. But he was still. You can't take again talent.
Can't take
talent.
Manny being Manny, bro.
Talent. Read some of his numbers from Cleveland, and they're just career numbers actually.
Let's look at the WAR: 69.3. 2,574 hits, 555 homers, 312 batting average. Come on. 312?
312 for his career.
Wow.
I think he won an MVP, right?
Yeah.
We'll check that definitely.
In a second. World Series MVP he got. 1,831 ribbies, 38 stolen bases. Yeah. That's a comical number, though. You know. But it's good. Good for Manny. It's good for Manny.
Wait, 38? Oh, actually, I counted that one of his accolades. 38. I'm like, wait a minute, 38.
411 OBP, 585 slugging, OPS of 996, and OPS
almost 1,000. He almost has an OPS of 1,000.
And let's look at his accolades here: a batting title, 9-time silver slugger,
12-time All-Star,
World Series MVP, and a 2-time World Series champion.
Which MVP did he win that for? Is that 07 or 04?
That was when was that?
Oh, let me see. Which World Series did he win the MVP in?
See if we find it here, folks.
Because I don't know who won the MVP in the 04 World Series. Mainly because I was 4 years old.
Why Big Papi, no?
Might have been. Wasn't it? Might have been Orlando Cabrera.
True.
Could have been
pretty clutch for them.
He's pretty clutch for them.
We'll figure that one out.
Top 5 MVP finishes.
Top 5. Here we go. Top 3 in 99.
With Cleveland.
Yep. He was 6 in 98. 6 in 2000 as well.
9, 6. Third
in 04.
Which is the year they won the World Series.
Yeah.
And fourth the following year in 05. This was a guy who his physique changed once he got to Boston. You can see it.
Yeah.
In his Cleveland years, though, Again, David Justice, who was actually teammates with Manny for a little bit in Cleveland, made this point. He was talking about Barry Bonds, who we'll talk about later on, but he was saying basically, and I'll paraphrase David, let's say Manny had a career-ending injury, like Koufax did, after 2002. Looking at his numbers to that point, you would take that player and you would make the argument that he's a Hall of Famer because his career got cut short, but he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I mean, whatever. I don't know when Manny started juicing. I can't pinpoint it. I don't know if it was 02, 03 or whatever, but it was at some point in the 7-year period in Boston that he started hitting the juice. But even then, it didn't matter because look at what he was doing in Cleveland.
Beast, bro.
Just take any random year in Cleveland and just read off his numbers.
Let's look at 99. 44 homers, 165 RBIs. He hit 333. Mm-hmm. OBP of 442, slugging of 663. He led the league with that. OPS of 1,105.
97, the year they made the World Series. Give me his numbers that year.
97. 88 ribbies, 26 home runs.
Of course, I picked the year he doesn't have them with
328 batting average, 415 OBP, slugging of 538. Still that's a pretty good year.
That's a down year for him. Most hitters would take a year like that. That's a down year for Manny Ramirez. Take 98 when they lost the Yankees in 6 in the ALCS. What do you do that
98, year? 45 home runs, 145 ribbies. He hit 294. 377 OBP, slugging of 599, OPS 976.
It's not even a debate. He's a Hall of Famer.
He has to get in.
He's a Hall of Famer.
They have to get him in.
He's not going to, unfortunately.
Like we were saying, just put the steroid guys in the basement.
Yeah.
On top of the building or something. I don't know. Figure it out. All right, they got to get this guy in.
They got to get this guy in. He's two-time.
He was a pretty clutch hitter, too.
Really? All the way through his Dodger years?
Yeah.
All the way through the Manny Wood years?
And he was a character on the field. Remember that time when he went out to I think he went to the bathroom or something?
Yes. And not only that, but he cut off with Johnny Damon. Johnny Damon, if you're listening, I love you. Yankees 2009 World Series champion, Johnny Damon, who stole 2 bases in Game 4 and helped the Yankees go up 3-1. That's the thing about Johnny Damon. Like people think of him, older Yankee fans think of him as a Red Sox. Because of 2004 and him killing them in Game 7. I think of him as a Yankee. To me, he's the guy that helped the Yankees win the World Series in 09.
Yeah.
Stole 2 bases in Game 4. Smart play. But no, Johnny Damon had a noodle arm, and so Manny Ramirez cut off the throw, and then threw it to Mark Bellhorn, and then Mark Bellhorn gunned it home to Varitek, and the guy scored. They were playing the Orioles, and Jerry Remy.
Was it inside the Parker?
No, it was like a double. The guy scored from first. Like Jerry Remy was like, well, that's just about the worst relay I've ever seen. And it was.
Bruh,
despite that, Manny Ramirez is a Hall of Famer. So who's next?
I'll definitely vote Manny in. Let's go with Jeff Kent.
Jeff Kent, another guy, just because he wasn't nice to the media, he's not a Hall of Famer. Read Jeff Kent's numbers for his career, if you don't mind.
55.4 WAR, 2,461 hits, 377 homers, 290 batting average, 1,518 RBIs, 94 stolen bases, OBP of 356, slugging of 500. OPS of 855 and an OPS plus of 123.
2000 MVP.
Yes, sir.
Won the MVP in 2000.
4-time Silver Slugger and a 5-time All-Star.
Jeff Kent, his WAR is not as high as the average Hall of Famer. It's below about 7 or so. And was he ever the slickest fielding second baseman? I don't think he was. I mean, he had an okay glove. He was not going to remind anybody of a Bill Mazeroski or a Rod Carew at second base, or Roberto Alomar. He wasn't a slick fielder, but the guy was a tremendous hitter, and him and Barry Bonds were a lethal 1-2, which I don't know how the Mets got by the Giants in 2000. That
was a sick 1-2 punch.
They didn't get along, but it was a great 1-2 punch. But Kent had a difficult personality.
I could imagine how that locker room was.
Oh, it was toxic. Game of Shadows talked about it. It was very toxic.
Oh, man.
Extremely toxic. You'll read about it when I give you the book. Jeff Kent, again, because I don't know how anybody can look at those numbers. I don't think he was ever known as a steroid guy. Because listen, just because you're in the same locker room as Barry Bonds or any of these guys that were linked to, or Clemens or whatnot, doesn't automatically make you a steroid user. It's kind of like cops, right? Not to get too deep into anything, but like you work in a precinct, you're a good cop, you do the right thing. If just because there's some other cop in the precinct that's doing the wrong thing, it doesn't mean that you're automatically bad cop too. So it's the same thing with this.
I agree.
It doesn't automatically mean that he was any kind of a juicer. I don't know if he has links to PDs. I don't think he does, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. I don't think he was ever linked. I don't know if he was ever mentioned. I could look it up. I could
look it up. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let me see if Jeff Kent by chance was ever linked to.
But Jeff Kent was a guy that I enjoyed playing. I mean, I enjoyed
watching
him play. He was
You were pitching for the Braves at one point. You didn't tell me.
Oh, he would have destroyed me, bro. He would have taken me hard, bro. But
he Astros too for a little bit. Helped the I think was he on that 05 team?
Yeah, 04.
Okay, he wasn't on that 05 team. He's the only second baseman to have 100 or more RBIs in 6 consecutive seasons. All-time home run leader as a second baseman, 377. Top 5 in RBIs in 97, 98, 2000 year he won and the MVP in 2000 and 2002 year they made the World Series. Well, I think he was still in San Francisco in 02, right? He wasn't on.
Yes.
Okay.
San Fran. Yeah.
6th in National League MVP voting in that year. 8th in 1997. And you read off his other accomplishments. So this is a guy who, again, 290 batting average for his career, 377 the home runs. He had actually a 9.78 fielding percentage.
It's not that bad.
He
played multiple positions as well. You could plug him in at first and third, and I think that was it. Second,
he struggled a bit in his Mets years. He didn't like New York very much. He was in New York from 92 to 96.
Yeah.
I think he was in Cleveland in 97, the year that was... When was he in Cleveland? He got traded to Cleveland 96, midway through.
Yeah.
And then 97 is when he took his talent to San Fran. He was really, even in his last year with the Dodgers, as an older guy, pull up his Dodgers numbers, just to get a sense of consistency. I don't know if he was still good in 08, which was his last year.
His last year, he hit 280.
Which is respectable.
That's not even bad at all. At 40 years old. That's pretty
59 good. RBIs, 12 home runs.
12 home runs.
As a 40-year-old.
123 hits. I can only think of one guy that would do better than that. That's Julio Franco.
Probably still playing for all we know. Julio Franco's probably 80. My goodness. Jeff Kent's a Hall of Famer to me. I've been thumping that drum for a while.
Some folks listen, they might think we're being too generous. But
they might, but I mean, listen, there's a lot of people.
Numbers don't lie, bro.
Greg from Blue Shirts Breakaway. Greg, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. He hosts the New York Rangers podcast with Ryan Mead, which you should go listen to. It's titled Blue Shirts Breakaway. It's very funny and very insightful. They talk a lot of baseball too, because Greg's a big Mets fan. I remember I said, okay, well, what do you think on Twitter? What do you think about Jeff Kent, Greg? He said, well, Kent's wildly overrated. But I don't know how you can look at numbers like that and say that. And granted, I know it's different because you saw him play. I didn't, because I started paying attention to baseball and really sports period in 2006 when I was a 6-year-old. So I didn't see Kent's prime. I don't know how anybody can look at numbers like that. Just take his 1997 all the way to the end. That to me puts him in the conversation. You know, all-time home run leader as a second baseman, 978 fielding percentage. 290 batting average for your career?
You don't think of a guy having that much pop coming from the second base.
Because they're not known to have a lot of pop. They're really not.
He was a guy that he was a threat. He was legit a threat at home plate. He could take you deep. He could hit a double. You know, this guy was an elite hitter, I would say, for a second baseman.
So yeah,
he didn't have a trash can to help him out as well.
No, he didn't. No, he did not.
You gotta take that into consideration.
He did not. I think the only second baseman that hit better than he did during that time period, you have to say Craig Biggio.
Yes.
Probably Craig Biggio.
Those are two guys that I love watching. Him and Jeff Kent and Craig Biggio.
Because, I mean, Edgardo Alfonso had a great couple of years. Quite a great, but then the injuries started to derail him. Otherwise, I would have put Fonzie in that conversation. So Jeff Kent's a Hall of Famer. And I know you can only put 10 guys max on a ballot.
Yes.
So this is who we would vote for. We said Burley's not.
Yeah, Burley's not.
Burley's not. He's all very good. Who do you want to go to next?
Let's do Todd Helton.
This one's interesting.
This is a good one.
This is a good one because Todd's career is fascinating. Before I throw it over to Victor so he could read you his career numbers, Todd, of course, as you know, for all of you that follow baseball, Todd spent his entire career in Colorado with the Rockies. He's a Rockies legend. I think his number's retired by the Rockies, right?
Should be.
And if it's not, it's going to be. Obviously, he's really when you think of the Rockies, you think of Larry Walker, you think of Dante Bichette, you think of Todd Helton first and foremost. But obviously, for those of you that don't follow baseball that are nice enough to be watching this, episode 47 of the Mike Name podcast, Coors Field, Denver, the altitude in Denver is a little bit different. It's the Mile High City for a reason. So anybody that comes in to play the Nuggets in basketball or the Broncos in football or the Rockies in baseball or even the Avalanche in hockey, they have a bit of a hard time if they're not used to it because the altitude throws you off. Unless you're from there, you're not used to it. And so that being said, the altitude elevates the ball. And as a result, it inflated the numbers of quite a few of these hitters. That's why it took Larry Walker a long time to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because the people held Coors against him. Yeah. And Larry played the majority of his career in Colorado. He played another half of it in Montreal and then finished up in St. Louis. Todd played all of his career in Colorado. So give us Todd Helton's career numbers.
Here we go. A 61.8 WAR, 2,519 hits, 369 homers, a batting average of 316, 1,406 RBIs, 37 stolen bases, OBP of 414, slugging of 539, OPS of 953, and OPS plus of 133.
Four-time Silver Slugger, batting title winner, which I think was in 2000 because he hit like 358 in 2000. He had a monstrous year.
He had 372.
Even better. Jesus.
Gee, that's like a MLB The Show character number.
You have to go, and mind you play 81 games at home. You play 81 games on the road. I would like to see his home
splits, right?
The home-road splits. Pull that up because that'll determine this for me.
Let's see if we can look this up here.
Because Todd was a darn good player. And a consistent player, too. If Todd's numbers from like 90... When did he come bust in? 1997?
97, I believe it was. Yeah, 97.
98 through about the year they made the World Series, 07, where it was his peak as a player. Particularly 98 through 01.
Let's see if I can get the home splits here.
Yeah, if you can get his home road splits, that would determine a lot. And by the way, while Victor looks that up, subscribe to the Mike in New Haven podcast, leave a 5-star rate and review, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, MC's Audio, where you can get more fine content, more fine episodes of the Mike in New Haven podcast, like this one. And follow me on Twitter at Mike in New Haven. And if you're on LinkedIn, I'm Mike Galone there. So, shameless plug.
That's it. You gotta throw the plug in there. Let's see.
His home road splits.
I believe this is it right here.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Not it. Sorry.
Yeah,
we'll get it.
We'll get it. Yeah, Todd. God, those Rockies teams, man. I'm trying to think. I mean, that was a great. Geez, imagine that having as the heart of your order, Helton, Bichette, and Walker.
That was a sick lineup. Right.
Problem is nobody could pitch in Coors Field because even Mike Hampton, and if you're a Mets fan, you love Mike Hampton because A, he helped you get to the World Series in 2000, and B, when he left, the compensatory draft pick that the Rockies had to give the Mets when Mike left for Denver turned into David Wright. So you really love Mike Hampton if you're a Met fan. But even him, for as good a pitcher as he was, he finished up his career at the Braves too. He struggled in Colorado. He pitched like a 5 ERA.
Listen, I can't find the splits right now.
So you can't find the home road splits. Okay, let me see if I can get
can pull it up.
Yeah, I'll try to pull this up here. Live podcasting at its finest, folks.
Yep.
Todd Helton.
No editing here. But listen. You can't have the guy suffer because he was playing in Colorado.
Right.
And
talent's talent.
And then again, he wasn't playing 162 games in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
For him to hit 372 in 2000, that's unbelievable.
I mean, you have to hit on the road, too.
You got to hit on the road. You got to go into, what is it, San Fran. You got to go into L.A.
You got to go to Atlanta. You got to go into Shea at the time.
And he did his thing, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, when you think about Colorado Rockies, you think about Todd Helton.
I'm trying to find his...
And I don't know if we mentioned he had a 3-time Gold Glove winner.
Which is
5-time All-Star.
This is his 2000 batting splits, home and away. So he hit at home. He hit 391.
Beast.
This is what he did on the road in 79 games on the road. This is just 2000. This is the year he won the batting title. Probably should have won MVP. Who won MVP in 2000 anyway? In the National League.
2000. Who won that?
Because I did not give it to Todd Helton. Before I give you his road split for 2000, just let me see. It's like Pudge winning the AL MVP over Pedro Martinez in 1999. It's ridiculous.
2000.
Oh yeah, we just talked about Jeff Kent. Our bad, Jeff Kent.
My bad.
Jeff Kent. No disrespect to Jeff Kent. But this is what he did on the road in 2000. Our memories are short, folks. 15 home runs, 59 RBIs, on base percentage of 441, slugging percentage of 633, batting average of 353. He had 353 on the road in 79 games. You can't take that away from him. You can't. I mean, let's go.
I have a hard time doing that on MLB The Show, bro.
Exactly. I mean, listen.
Roll to the show. That's unbelievable, bro.
Are there gaps? Yeah. Because, for example, to be fair, on the road in 99, he hit 252 compared to 385 at home. So there is that. And that's pretty much. And 98, which I think was his first full season, 354 at home, 273 on the road. So there's Todd Helton.
Not that bad though.
It's not that bad. But if there's if I can just find his entire.
He was second in Rookie of the Year, by the way, voting. 98. They gave it to Kerry Wood that year.
Well, Kerry Wood was great.
Yeah. But I would vote him in, bro. I vote Todd Helton.
I wouldn't give him first ballot.
I'll vote him in.
I wouldn't give him first ballot. I'm trying to see. Let me see. They are so good that nobody knows. This is good. Bill James said this, and this is an article from 538. Helton's numbers are like that. They are so good, quote, that nobody knows what to do with them. It's tough because if Todd Helton was the first baseman for the Oakland Athletics, if he was the first baseman for the San Diego Padres, if he was the first baseman for the Florida Marlins, still the Florida Marlins to me, we would put him in. But because he played in a place where the altitude was so freaking high,
he has to suffer for it.
Yeah, and you know what? But this is something that this is a tell-all paragraph. It is true that Helton's numbers were much more mortal on the road than at home. Although he logged 51% of his career plate appearances in Colorado, he produced 55% of his hits, 57% of his total bases, 61% of his RBIs, and 62% of his home runs there. Helton's overall career OPS of 953 fell to 855 outside of Coors, a gap of 98 points that ranks him among the worst road versus overall differentials in MLB history. You cannot lie. I know analytics is something that's controversial because we can say, oh, it's too much, and it is kind of getting to be too much these days, but this is where we are reminded that analytics is still valuable. I'm going to have to say no to Todd Helton.
Say no?
I'll say no.
What if I told you you had a 996 fielding percentage? If I'm looking at that right now.
No, it's fair. Listen, it's fair. And
does that convince you or no?
I don't know if that really pushes the envelope for me. I don't know if that's the icing on the cake. Todd Helton, to me, it's kind of like what we said in regards to in regards to certain players. I can't remember off the top of my head who we were talking about specifically, but Todd Helton, I don't think this is his first ballot. He's been on multiple ballots. He will get in eventually. He'll get in eventually. His numbers will climb, and I think it'll be like a Larry Walker type thing, where eventually they threw Larry Walker a bone and put him in. Deservedly so, because Larry Walker was a great hitter before Coors, and he was a pretty solid hitter after Coors, too.
Yeah.
So I think that's Todd's case. Todd's hurt by Coors. You can't lie with that statistical analysis I just read you.
Yeah.
He will get in, just not now. I wouldn't put him in this year.